And then that'll kind of conclude this section of Paul's pastoral letters. Then we'll jump back to the Old Testament and figure out something there. I like to go old, new, old, new. So as we're thinking about the future, if there's a Old Testament book you'd like to walk through, comment below, email me or text me, and I'd love to get your feedback on what we can do next with the Old Testament. So let's read today, chapter 4, verses 9 through 22. Do your best to come to me soon. For Demas, in love with this present world, has deserted me and gone to Thessalonica. Crescens has gone to Galatia, Titus to Dalmatia. Only Luke is with me. Get Mark and bring him with you, for he is useful in my ministry. I have sent Titinius to Ephesus. When you come, bring the cloak that I left with Carpus at Troas, and also the books above all the parchments. Alexander the coppersmith did me great harm. The Lord will pay him back for his deeds. You must also beware of him, for he is strongly opposed to our message. At my first offense, no one came to support, but all deserted me. May it not be counted against them. But the Lord stood by me and gave me strength, so that through me the message might be fully proclaimed, and all the Gentiles might hear it. So I was rescued from the lion's mouth. The Lord will rescue me from every evil attack and save me for his heavenly kingdom. To him be the glory forever and ever. Amen. Greet Priscilla and Aquila and the household of Onesiphorus. Erastus remained in Corinth. Trophimus I left ill in Miletus. Do your best to come before winter. Eusebius sends greetings, as does Perdines and Linus and Claudia and all the brothers and sisters. The Lord be with your spirit. Grace be with you. Okay. I always like what Paul does at the end of his letters. Paul's I saw this internet meme one time that I always think is funny. It said Paul's letters always look like this. Paul, an ambassador, an apostle called by God from the depths of his mercy. We are an inheritor of the divine mystery of the knowledge of Jesus Christ and heirs to great salvation. Will you please, as a personal favor, please just behave for 5 minutes? Paul's letters always got to have that flow to them. Paul, an apostle. We have this divine mystery in God. Knock it off. Come on, guys. Just knock it off. Come on. But then they always end very personal. In fact, my Bible has this section listed as personal instructions and final greetings and benediction. And Paul will basically do a roll call and will thank people. Greet Priscilla and Aquila and these households. Greet these folks. So Paul always gives these little shout outs, if you will. And what I love about it, Romans 16 to me is the best example of this in all the Bible. And I love the way it works. Because Paul just reminds us over and over and over again that we don't do this by ourselves. Even in the first part, the personal instructions, do your best to come to me soon. And he lists all the folks who have left him. Some left him, some he sent off. So only Luke is with me. Get Mark and bring him, and then bring these things. We see Paul remind Timothy and remind us that we need each other. That the Christian life is not a completely solitary life. In our Christian walk and journey, we do need times of solitude. We need times to be alone, to pray, to think, to meditate. Without a doubt, we need those times. But our journey and our path is not a solitary journey, that we need others walking with us. He says to Timothy, I need you. And I love the personal nature. He says, bring the cloak that I left with Carpus and the books and above all the parchments. This is like I was a little late getting to work today because I needed to run something to the school that one of my kids forgot. And they texted me and said, hey, can you bring this? And I said, sure. This is the words of a child to a parent or a parent to a child. Said, hey, can you bring this? We live in Gluckstadt. My joke is that we live just far away from church to be irritated if you forget something. Like we don't live that far, But when you forget something, you're like, do I really need it? Do I really want to drive 15 minutes to go get it? And there's been a lot of times I've text one of my kids and say, hey, I forgot whatever. It's located here. Can you bring it to me? That's what we do for those folks. These are the folks we can count on, right? We can count on our spouse. We can count on our children. We can count on our parents. We know that they're there. We love them and we trust them and they're there for us. That's the depth of relationship that Paul had with Timothy. Hey, bring the cloak that I left there. Bring the books and don't forget the parchment. Bring these things. And I think that's beautiful. Who do you have in your life that you trust in that way? Who in your life do you trust enough that you'll ask these things or tell these things or say these things? We got to have somebody we trust, y'all. You know, we have to let folks in, and that can be hard, and that can be challenging, but we have to. We're not called to walk alone. We're not called to walk by ourselves, but we need others walking with us. And we see that in Paul. Paul didn't take these missionary journeys by himself. He didn't just go off as one single solitary man fighting against the powers of evil. He went off as part of a team. And he had a team around him. And it wasn't always easy. You see a list here of people who left him. In fact, that's kind of what he's saying to Timothy is, hey, I'm kind of by myself. It's just me and Luke. I kind of need some help here. So come on, bring Mark with you. I need your help. But notice what he says in verse 17. He says, but the Lord stood by me and gave me strength, that the message may be proclaimed to the Gentiles. So I was rescued from the lion's mouth. The Lord will rescue me from every evil attack and save me for his heavenly kingdom. So even though it was hard, he knew the Lord was with him. And I also like verse 16. And at my first offense, no one came to my support. They all deserted me. May it not be counted against them. You know, Paul understood human frailty. I think particularly here as we see him getting older. You know, we read yesterday about how he's saying he's finished the race. He is almost he's almost done. His race is almost over. And the hope, I think the hope we all have, at least the hope that I have for myself as I grow older. I think of what Wesley says, you know, the older I get, the more of an account I make for human weakness. I think there's something to that. I hope the older I get, the more of an account I make for others' weaknesses and other sins. So Paul does that here. Paul does that. He says, even though they deserted me, even though they left me, even though they failed me, may God not count it against them. So today, let's seek to be gracious like that. Let's seek to understand our own human frailty and how weak we may be and how frail we may be. Let's hold on loosely with grace, understanding that we're frail and they're frail, and try to love folks where they are, but also be thankful for the folks we have in our life. And if you don't have that community around you, work to develop it. You know, as hard as it is, find a Sunday school class. If you're not, well, first, if you're not in a church, find a church. Find a community of believers to gather around you. We all need that. And then if you're in a church, go a little bit deeper. Find you a small group. Find you a Sunday school class. Find you a ministry area. Find you some people to walk with you. We don't do this by ourselves. This is not an alone journey, but we walk together. We walk together. So I hope today, no matter where you find yourself, that you understand that you walk with me and I walk with you. We walk together. And together we'll be where God needs us to be. Thanks for joining us as we wrapped up 2 Timothy today. And starting tomorrow, we will start with Titus. So we'll read Titus, most of chapter 1.